All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly series on the concept of object-oriented programming and how to use object-oriented programming in machine learning. Now, object-oriented programming has been around for a very long time, and it is a key principle of software development. Unfortunately, it's not something that is practiced heavily in machine learning. Okay. Now, the reason for that is very simple. Okay. Most of the data scientists are data scientists. They're not Python developers. They are not software engineers. They are not, you know, in that field. So the goal of this series has been to make that change happen. Okay. So that is what we have been trying to do so far. We talked about the various different things which we do as part of our object-oriented programming. We talked about how we can handle our preprocessing and model building phase. Okay. So now the next thing that we have to do here is we have to focus on the deployment phase of the project. Okay. So now in this part of the series, we are going to talk about how we can use object-oriented programming, okay, principles to create a deployment pipeline. Now, so far, we have done everything that we need to do for creation of this pipeline, and we are going to be looking at some basic structures. Okay, so we are going to be looking at example structures, okay, that we want to create for our pipelining. So we are looking at a model. Okay. Now we want to talk a little bit briefly about what are these structures that we want to implement and how to make that change happen. Okay. This is what we want to focus on. All right. So for model building, we will talk about handling of the model loading, prediction, and management. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying model loading here, not model development, because model development has already happened. Okay. The model development phase has already happened. Here, what we are doing is we are taking our pre-trained model and we want to deploy it. Okay. Then we will also have a preprocessor. Now, what is the purpose of building a preprocessor? Obviously, we have done preprocessing for our data in um, before we did the model training phase, right? So that is something that we have already done. So we already have some kind of a strategy in mind. Okay. So now, as part of our pre-processing, we also have to ensure that whenever there is any kind of new data, okay, it also follows the same pattern of our processed data. Okay. Why is it important that it follows the same process? It's important because whenever we have our model building phase, right? Our model is expecting the data to be in a certain way. Now, if you change the model building phase every time, okay, then in that context, can our model handle data which we haven't done, which it hasn't seen before, or it is in a different format? It will not be able to handle it. So our deployment will fail right away. Okay. So we have the preprocessor. This will manage the preprocessing steps before prediction. Okay. Then we have the pipeline. The pipeline is responsible for coordination between preprocessor, model, and post processor. Now, what will the post processor do? It will take the data and store it in the necessary format, and it will also push the data in the relevant format. Okay. And then we will finally have a deployer. Okay. This will handle deployment configurations. So we are talking about the setup of our deployment. Okay. And also it will set up for scalability. Okay. Now, the next is our requirements that we need for the deployment phase. So the first requirement that we have is the pre-processing requirement. Okay. So what should we do as part of our pre-processing requirement? Pre-processing will require many steps. So what we want to have is some kind of a saved pipeline, which we can directly import and apply. Once you can create and apply this pipeline, okay, it will become easy for you to utilize it in the future, right? So this is why we want to create one such pipeline. Okay. Now, you can also do the code manually if you want to as part of your object-oriented programming. But the whole point of this series has been to optimize our processes. Okay. And if you're not optimizing this process, then are you really doing anything? Right. So here we will have our basic structure. So the first class that I want to define here will be one model. Okay. Now, what do I want to do here? What do I want in this class? This will handle the loading, saving, and prediction phase of my ML model. Okay. So this is the first thing that we want to define. Okay. Then the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a preprocessor. Okay. And what will this preprocessor do? This will manage the necessary steps to be taken in our preprocessing pipeline. Okay. And then we have the next class, which is going to be my pipeline class. You can think of it like the management of our flow of the data. So basically here, we want to connect the preprocessed data with the model phase. First thing. Second. Next. Then we want to have something for our post process. Okay. So that we can also get the access to the processed output. Okay. So what I'll do here is in the structure itself, we will make this change. Okay. So let's say post process. And in post process, we will handle post prediction processing, such as storage and inference of the results. Okay. All right. Then What is the next thing that we want to do? Obviously, we want to do our model part. Okay. So we'll create our deployer. Okay. And here, this will be responsible for your model deployment. Okay. So this is the basic overall structure that I want to do. Now, obviously, you can also modify the structure as per your need, right? Whatever you want to do, whatever is your goal, accordingly, you can decide what to do with it. Okay. So it's completely up to you. It's completely a decision that you should make. And this decision should be based on your own requirements. Okay. Now, this based on your own requirements, it should be something which is logical. If it is not logical, then what is the point of doing it, right? So make sure that when you are defining your pipelines, you're streamlining everything. Okay. Now, what we want to do as part of this series is basically to do a sort of like a project, which is going to be an end-to-end project where we will cover all of these aspects. Okay. And we will discuss about all the different things that we should be doing as part of our pipelining. Okay. And then we will also touch base a little bit on what exactly is model monitoring and maintenance. Okay. And maybe we can also focus a little bit on the aspects of our practicality. Maybe we will try to integrate our model management into this as well. Okay. So this is how our model training is going to work. Okay. This is the entire pipeline. With this pipeline, you can define your entire structure. Okay. So this is what we want to focus on. This is what we want to learn. This is, you can say, over the last few months, we have been going through this series. And this is essentially what the culmination of that series will look like. Okay. So obviously, once we create our structure, okay, we will start. We will also have to give some utilization. Okay. Now, here, okay. So we want to utilize the above functions. What we also want to do here is we want to see about importing this pipeline in a different location so that we can use it separately, which is also something that we will explore and understand what is the feasibility of that. Okay. So this is what we want to do as part of our last journey. Okay. So uh, we will start this from next week. And obviously, thank you so much for everyone who has joined in today. I'm really happy that you could make some time for us. We'll see you all next week. And next week's session will obviously be 30 minutes so that we can actually discuss all of these topics in detail. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.